morning. Hoping all is well with everyone. Um, I was missing in action for the last day or so, preparing to say goodbye to a loved one. As I told you in the previous video, we lost our brother-in-law, beloved person, Mr. Glenn E. Ford Sr. Um, that dreaded Parkinson's disease. But we celebrated his life yesterday and laid him to rest. Sometimes you ever have to go and say goodbye to a loved one in this way by having a funeral service, and the emotions really don't hit you until you're in the spot. You get to the place and you see the body of your loved one laid out. Then you're hoping that they were prepared properly. At least they're looking like themselves. But I must say, when we approached him laying there, he just looked like he was asleep. He looked like himself. He just looked like he was asleep. They did a very good job in preparing him. And it's just a surreal thing when you see someone who was full of life, just being laid out there. And this is my brother-in-law. He's just a wonderful person. Just 62, 63 years old. We're gonna miss you, my brother. He was like a big brother to me. Just a mentor. He did so much for his community. Coached Little League, coached Biddy basketball, coached and he played. He was a fabulous athlete. He tried out for 2 major league clubs. But these videos are usually called The Day on My Job. Now, do you know that people had the nerve to be texting me while I'm at a funeral? This is the day, a bereavement day, that I didn't expect to hear from them. I expected them to allow me to be at a homegoing service for a loved one, a day of celebration of life. But I'm getting texts left and right about this one's not here, that one's not here. I can't do a damn thing about it because I'm not there. The schedule is there. I can't control what happens with certain people. Now I'm forced to have to respond, and I don't understand how. Now these people know, by the way, that I'm not out and that I'm not at work and that I am taking a bereavement day. They know this, but they still insist on texting me about this one's not being here, that one's not being here. I just don't understand people sometimes. I would never bother somebody if they're in the middle of a funeral. The funeral was beautiful. The choir was wonderful. The selections were poignant. his twin girls got up and spoke, and by the time they were done, there wasn't a dry eye in the building. My sister's sitting up there just trying to be brave for her family, and there were just so many times it just looked like she wanted to break, and but she held it together. Then after the funeral service, we were going to go to the graveyard, and it was cold as hell out there. Stayed in the low 20s, upper teens, snow-covered grounds. The awesome thing too was, he was also a military man. He also spent time in the Marines, and we always thanked him for serving his country. He got a processional with the local police from the church to the graveyard, and that line was so damn long. I mean, he touched so many people. It was just a beautiful send-off for him. Well deserved. The minute we process into the place of burial, I always forget how quick that service is over at the funeral, at the graveyard. I had my sister with me. She uses a walker, so we were slow getting up there. By the time we got up there, in a matter of minutes, they were done praying over the body, and the first thing we heard him say is everyone's going to proceed back to the church for the repast. And we barely just got there by maybe a few minutes, and it was over as fast as we got there. So we laid out flowers on the coffin and proceeded back. So we get back to the church. They have a beautiful dining hall in this church. It's almost like being at a restaurant. I mean, it's really beautiful. But they ran out of room. My sister, who hates to use her walker, decides to leave the walker in the car. We get into the dining hall at the church. I'm walking her over, trying to find her a place to sit. Now I turn my back for 2 seconds to do something, and next thing I know, someone's calling my name, and they're telling me she fell. So this one decides she's going to try to climb up on the stage to get around, and apparently her knee gave out, and she collapsed. So I turn around. She's got 2 men trying to help her up, and I'm like, oh Lord. So they get her up. We get her into a chair. So my sister, who lost her husband, the one who her husband's being buried yesterday, comes over and asks, where's your walker? I said she didn't want to take it. I said, it's in my car. She's like, you need your walker. And then she looks up at me and is like, can you go get my walker out of the car? And I just gave it a look, because before we got in, I said to her, you sure you don't want to take your walker? But my family in general is just a bullheaded group, and I've gotten to the point where I don't argue with them over those things. So I walk back out and go down the elevator to the car, get the walker, and bring it back. The food was horrible. I can't even describe to you how bad the food was. But overall, it was just great to see some old faces and friends I hadn't seen in years. The collage of pictures going off on the screen old memories that I can remember going back 30, 35, 40 years. Some I forgot about. Um, it was really as good a day as you can have for a funeral and a send off. The repast was great in the sense that seeing people I hadn't seen in a long time, rekindled some old friendships. Um, then the day was over, and I took her home, my sister, and but my day wasn't done because I'm walking her up to her steps at her condo, and there's still ice all over the place, and she can barely walk. So I said, look, I'll go home. I only live maybe a mile away from her, downhill, whatever. Mile and a half, 2 miles tops. Get my shovel and some salt, and I'll be back. So, did that, came over, cleaned up her walkway, cleaned up her steps, and just put some salt down. Went home. Then I went over to Wawa's and got me a cup of coffee. Met up with a friend of mine. We chatted it up for about an hour. Then I came back home. I mean, overall, it was a surreal day. It was a day full of emotion, and I just thank God for getting us through the day and making sure that my sister, who lost her husband, was secure, and she was just thankful for the support. Everybody was wrapping their arms around her, and she didn't feel like she was alone. So that's what was important. As far as that job stuff, I'll deal with that later on the day, because I'll be going in and addressing some issues that were going on yesterday while I was away at with my family, putting our family member away down. Just wanted to give you a quick synopsis of what the day was. And because I hadn't dropped anything in a couple of days on video, dropping any content, I needed to drop something. In order to keep the algorithms up, you got to drop every day, really. But like, subscribe, share if you want. We'll get back to regular content later on today. And God bless, and meet you at the top.